What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again, coming at you with another Soul Strike video. And in today's video, we're going to be bringing you guys something special. We're going to coin this as the ultimate beginner's guide for Soul Strike, giving you guys everything you need to know to jump you into this game. Now, before we get into that, as you guys see right next to me over here, we have a person that is going to be assisting me in this guide. We have Epic Butter from the Guild Malicious. Epic Butter, how are we doing today, sir?
You're doing great. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to kind of help put this together and hopefully help people figure out how to get the most out of their game.
Yeah, very excited for that because again, like I said before, off camera, you reached out to me with good intentions, trying to give back to the community and provide them everything that they need to know about this game. So with me being a new player in this game, Soul Strike, I couldn't be more than blessed to be able to provide this content for you guys. So super excited to jump into this one. In episode 1, gear guide, a lot of stuff going on here. One of the most important things to understand when it comes to Soul Strike here. Let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to break this down for me. Let me know what I need to know.
Yeah, so I'm just here. This is me. This is my account. You're gonna see it all. And like this is there's a lot going on here. But the main things to kind of break it up is to break it up into two different sections. You have your offense here. That's your gun or your weapons, your back, and your accessory. And between the three, it's hard to say, oh, all you want is final attack, or all you want is attack, or all you want is skill. You actually want a blend of all three. So, to give credit to the people that worked really hard to figure this out, there's a guy on Discord called Full Earth. He's part of the Exile Guild. He's really written a lot of things to try to bring the information to the community. So like I need to give him credit. But the general emphasis is like 3 lines of attack, 2 lines of skill damage, and 2 lines of final damage. So see here, I have 2 lines of final damage. I have my 3 lines of attack. I have one, you know, uh, 2, 3. I have one flat. This eventually I'll want to re-roll, but we'll see if will be lucky enough to get that reroll. I am missing 1 line of skill, so that really is holding me back a little bit. But one of the lines that I do have, and I only recommend one of, is this efficacy boost. What that is basically your win more kind of rating. So when you think about what a win more rating is this game gives you like elements. And this is kind of the element chart. So when fire is stronger than earth, the question is by how much stronger? It's your efficacy rating.
Oh,
So
okay.
that yeah, so understanding that basically helps you blast you through content that like, oh, I have strong skills and these mobs are weak against that. It really will boost your ability to pass that stage, especially since you're kind of first stuck on like everything here is the water stage, then everything here is the fire stage. And they kind of do that purposely so that you're kind of forced to walk through the different elements and the different skills that are strong against that.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, some skills scale better than others, so then you don't necessarily always catch that. But that's generally, I think, why they stage the game the way they do.
Okay. And let me ask you this: when it comes to the gears or whatnot here, there's a lot of specific details about the stats of whatnot here, but more specifically, the types of gear. Let's talk about like the offensive gear or whatnot. You got guns, you got orbs, you got daggers and swords. Tell me a little bit about them. From what I understand, there's a little bit of difference in each of them. Some of them provide different kind of bonuses, and you value one more of the other. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's right. That's right. So when we go into there's two parts to consider. The first one is uh, the weapon master. That's your first introduction to like possibly what are the differences between the weapons. And if you look at them kind of carefully, the great sword nullify enemy attacks. That is kind of okay. Guns give 10% against the trigger lucky hit. That is twice your damage. So that's actually uh, really strong. And then if you look at these other two, dash towards the enemy, and the other one's dash away from the enemy. So from this perspective alone, you can see that guns are far and away the best option. And then the second reason why the rest of the rating matters is you look at the second part, and it's your ultimate class, your SSS class. So you look at and they all give a specific class passage towards a specific weapon. So when you look at guns and you get headshot, you get a plus 20% final damage boost. That is fantastic. While you look at the other ones, you get 5% to use Sky Pierce. So it's kind of like a Sunder.
Okay.
Um, it's okay. I actually haven't seen it myself. I should actually try to figure out how cool that is. But you know, it's not like super great because out of every like 100 attacks, you get 5. Then you have Flash Step. So to use Quick Draw, I don't actually know, and I haven't seen in any detail what this means.
Hmm.
Um, it kind of could be like the flag relic, but we really don't know. So this is why daggers are not rated super highly. And then if you look at Sage, 10% cooldown, that's pretty great. You know, getting all the cooldown that you can get so that you can, use your skills as quickly as you can. That's kind of really powerful. So in the order that I would rank weapons, it would be guns or probably sword and daggers, or daggers and sword. It's kind of a toss up for me on
Okay.
which one's better at the bottom, but I really prefer guns.
Yeah.
I feel like the uh, Daniel Radcliffe meme every time I say that, where he's just holding up two akimbos and he's like, "Guns are way better, Ron." That's really how I feel.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I asked you that too, because I recently sent a picture to you in the email talking about how there was this really cool legendary gun that had really, really good stats, attack percentage, crit damage, whatnot,
Hmm.
versus a mystical, weapon that I think was an orb but didn't have the proper stats. And that was kind of like the first initiation of reminding me how there's a little bit of mechanic towards a certain, gear, and that the guns are definitely way past that. But now, all kidding aside, even though we may want a gun or an orb or a dagger or a sword, or any other kind of accessory or whatnot, there's kind of an interesting dynamic to this when it comes to gear drops, is that they're not all done equally, right? Someone's have a higher
Yeah.
drop rate, someone's the other. So can you tell me a little bit about the drop rate, and like maybe like one of the like biggest stats that you're trying to look for those specific slots?
Yeah, absolutely. So by far and away, this is not no. By far and away, backs are the hardest item to get in the game. Their drop rate is at 8%. So what I mean by that is every time you click your soul sphere, when it's full, you get an 8% chance of getting a. So given that they have the lowest drop rate, they become the most difficult to get a good set of. So what I mean by that is like they don't drop very often, and when they do, to get all 3 lines something you want is very difficult. Even mine like is not very ideal. Like personally, I would not want all element boost here. And the truth is, when you look at all of these, there's also a little bit of a like confusion. So this is going to go into kind of um, upgrading ultimate gear a little bit, but this thing to why you want what you want. Every first line is kind of fixed. And what I mean by that is it will always be attack for weapons, it will always be attack speed for backs, and it will always be some sort of element boost for accessories. So when you look at the first line, you can kind of think about it as a 50-50 chance, but in the case of the accessory, it's like a 25% chance for you to get what you want. Now, what you want generally is going to be plus percentage. You generally do not want to see like this here is plus flat amount. That's not good. But I was honestly kind of desperate upgrading because I really wanted a 2 slot. Now, to talk about it, it's really important that you get as many good lines as you can because upgrading is so expensive. And the power difference between a 2 slot and a single slot is basically night and day. A perfect 1 slot is generally not as good as an okay 2 slot.
Kind of going into, and one thing is kind of point out there, I'm just kind of throwing a question off the cuff here. The back, since it's the most important one, that stat that is the main stat there, the attack speed. That's another thing that I think a lot of beginners didn't know. I know I did not know when it comes to attack speed here, is that the value of attack speed is way more important than people can imagine, because when it comes to the percentage chance of proccing something, maybe it might sound a little low, but if your attack speed is higher, that means the opportunity to proc is going to be a little bit higher. So that means you'll get a little bit more value about it. Am I correct on that? Or
Yeah, that's correct. So generally, when you look at chance on attack, the more you're doing that, the more opportunity you have. And the other part to add to it is there is a relationship to your stats and your ally stats. So the faster you attack, the faster they attack.
okay, that's good to know. And then let's take a page from the late to end game, kind of move to the beginner game. Like when it comes to collecting these items, obviously that first part of the progression of this game is going to move really, really quick. We're going to have the level 10 gear, and in a matter of maybe hours, we might have level 20 gear, level 30 gear. So ultimately, the stats that we're looking to get on these specific gear is probably not super important. People should just focus on just progressing through, collecting what they got, clicking the audio equip, and just going to go with the flow here. When do you feel is the turning point to go ahead and realize, you know what, this is the time to say, I want to focus on this, I want to roll for this? Like, where do you think on that?
So personal opinion is you could never use auto equip.
Oh, that's
Yeah, because like you're right though, in the sense that like flat attack can be better than a flat percentage. And a lot of those like values in the beginning are very
mhm,
so small that like they don't really impact the game as quickly. What ends up happening is that like if you've been auto equipping, you may have like lost out or automatically destroyed something that would actually push you further. And the game does not really do a good job of explaining like the blend for you of what you need. So like you may have like one line of skill damage somewhere and you drop it because you're like, oh, this has, all element boost and damage. Well, you can go without crit damage. You cannot go without skill damage.
mhm. Gotta have the skill damage. Gotcha. So
Gotta
again,
have the skill
so
damage. Got it. And like you will have attack, and then you generally really won't see final damage until later. But if you see it, you generally want to have it on. But like, yeah, as much as you can, have skill damage in the beginning. So really, I would look at like does this item like give me more percentage towards a certain gear? And that I really think that's what's gonna keep you progressing the quickest.
okay. And then when it comes to the specific items that you got going on over there, when we start to get to the super late to end game and you start to re-roll everything, what are some of the kind of stats you're looking for each specific one? Are you looking for, a couple of final damage, a couple of, skill damage? Like if you had to try to balance it out, if that's even possible, how would you go about that?
Yeah, so like for example, I'll just go look at some of my weapons here, right? And what we can go look at something that I oh sorry, I'm just gonna go look at something I may have blocked or actually here's one. So this one I kind of held on to because I didn't know if like Blizzard was gonna be any good. It kind of has low rolls, but what I did like was it has Blizzard, it has attack, it has skill, it has their attack, and really for me this would have been a cheap upgrade because all I would have to roll would be this MP recovery here. So
Mhm.
so that would be a kind of a cheap upgrade. And the reason why I kind of prefer having cheap or upgrades that don't require me to like re-roll uh, two lines is because the power level between one slot and two slot is so high, it's much better to kind of save as much resources as you can so you can keep trying to get a two slot. If you just look at like how many weapons I have here, all of these ultimate upgrades, only two of them, two slots.
Okay.
So the chance of getting a two slot is 15%. So like the power difference is night and day.
Gotcha. And let's take a look at your main web again. I want to take a look at those stats real quick. So one of the things that I
Yeah.
noticed is that you have, obviously you're looking to have the specific stats that you want, but you also have the kind of grade of the skills and abilities, right? The S, the C, the D, and the whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do the reroll, Is it one of those things where like if it's a C initially and you do like a reroll, it can go up to a B, or does it stay a C? Or is there any kind of way of progressing?
Oh, the line is randomized. Yeah,
Okay, okay, so
the
it
line
can
is
change it.
completely randomized. Yeah.
Yeah, and not just the whatever skill or whatever stat, but also the grade of it can be randomized as well if you reroll it. Okay, right?
I believe so. I feel like I have to double check, but I believe so. Because the whole thing is, I'm pretty sure the whole thing is wiped, and like the chance of it gets kind of re-randomized.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Another thing that I want to mention too is when it comes to the all elemental boost. I guess one of the things that you told me on the side was people overvaluing that specific stat when it comes to offensive versus defensive gear. I guess there's specific type of stats that could be on
Yeah,
offense and defense. So can you explain that a little bit to me?
yeah. So on, so this is my hair, and hair, uh, your hair, your face, and your armor all can all have all element boost. So when I see it on a weapon or an offense kind of item, I really think that it's almost a wasted line because at some point it's like it's good, but it's really not good enough because that could have been a skill line, that could have been a final damage, that could have been an attack, that could have been crit damage, that could have been efficacy boost. There are so many things it could have been, and here you have in all element boost, which is available almost across any other, your defensive body boost. So that's why like I kind of really think people overvalue it. Like even for me, like I have this all element boost here, and I'm not very happy about that, right? But this is my best wings. So I if I could, I would definitely replace these, but this is what's working for me for my back. But yeah, all I have like two all element boost here. I have two all element boost here. This helm gives me more element boost. And then I have one element boost here, and then I have one line of all element resistance penetration, uh, magic points. This is your mana pool basically, and this is the fifth line here.
Okay. And cool. Thank you for that information. And it's funny because every single time I hear you say something, I see more stuff. I'm like, oh, I want to know about this. So I want to take a look at right below the actual slots here. Let's talk about that synergy because that's something that didn't stick to me out early on in the game, and I'm not sure if that's something that got introduced, but now it looks like it's almost like a like is that like set bonuses or whatnot depending on what kind of gear you have on, and how does that work?
Yeah, so there's two kind of synergies that you get, and unfortunately, I don't think Come to Us does a very good job of like um, really allowing you to take more advantage of these. Like,
Yeah.
so you see here, I have like Marksman, and it's really kind of a what is that called? A byproduct of upgrading to Ultimate Gear because your
Mm.
Mythic gear has some of these synergies, but when you upgrade it, they go away, unfortunately.
Oh
So
man.
all you see here are like kind of a bunch of mismatch synergies, right? And you see that I have one Frost Queen here, and I have three Thesis here. So like that's kind of like I would have wished that when you transmog, you could get like different synergies here. But then that would kind of like encourage people to try out different looks on their character to get like an additional, like food effect or get some extra soul part, right? It's there's like little
Wow.
things that like would make dressing up your character more fun.
Okay. That's good to know because I was like, I definitely don't have any kind of synergies going on for me. So that's good to know. Now I want to take a quick second of your time to talk about the beginners that are coming into the game that might have started this game. Well, when I started here, a lot of them have been taking their gear and once they upgraded and whatnot, they're gonna go ahead and collect some stuff and they're gonna start scrapping stuff for the raw materials that you need.
Mhm.
So when basically people reach out to you as far as guidance on this, what's your kind of recommendation for a new and upcoming player as far as your scrap goes? Do you say, hey, I'm going to limit it to depending on what it is, rare epic, or do I stay like 10 levels under, 20 levels under? Because like I realized real quick that even though I got a mythical item for my gun, a legendary gun that I have with better stats is one that I want to hold on to. So like what's your kind of cutoff? What's your recommendations when it comes to scrapping stuff?
Yeah. So generally, like generally with prepping stuff, I will get rid of anything that is green. I will get rid of anything that is blue. Purple, it is possible to get good like lines and good enough lines that make it kind of worth it.
Yeah.
Then for legendaries, that's where we start having to be a little careful.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is you may not be there yet, but for example, I have a legendary I kept here. And the reason why I kept it is because it has enhanced brawn, which is an aura that increases my attack. And the reason why I kept this was the max value for it is 15%. So this is off by 1.5%.
Right.
So for me, this is a very kind of cheap and easy weapon to break and put this aura onto a gem. And as you see here, I have 2 gems, and it's very easy for me to like throw this up here and throw it onto a gem and keep it around. So it becomes valuable, very very valuable, especially if like you put because there's no level limit on when these enchants can drop. So if you get like a faith enchant, and by the way, every skill enchant has like a point like not like 30%, like point like 0.03 or percent chance of dropping. So it is very hard to kind of find the enchant you want. You really have to just be collecting and kind of know what you want, so you can kind of save up or save it and use it when you need it.
Very cool. Yeah. So
Yeah, which is kind of why I'm like a horde master, because I'm like, I don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
when will I need this.
and that's the funny thing about it. I've looked at gear just kind of in its general form here, and I obviously, like I said before, I didn't even realize about synergy. I didn't realize about gems. So there's way more to this game than I know. So take a look at where I am and coming up. Obviously the evolution of the gear. You get it to 100, the enhancements get it to 250. And somewhere along that line, you start taking some of this really high end gear, breaking it down so that you can put it as gems, I guess, on the gear that you want to keep around. Is that correct?
Yeah, so towards the end game, we have all these slots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see these slots here, and really trying something out for the current raid boss. So what you see here is I have like skill enchant absolute zero. It makes my absolute zero strike twice, giving that break bonus twice. Then over here I'm using Green Lightning. I'm also using Phoenix. Over here I have Force of My Nature. So my point in going through this is like it really helps me kind of almost Rolodex for different situations.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna go over here and kind of just show like, I sometimes I like look at this game and I feel like Thanos just collecting stones, and I'm just
Right.
like oh, which kind of combination of stones are the best for what I'm trying to do today. So I'm constantly like, okay, if I'm gonna go do something else, I need to go to my inventory, I need to go to my character and just even select my parts and just really like go through and be like, oh, I need Thunderstrike instead, so I'm gonna take this off and put Thunderstrike on. So yeah, it becomes like pretty interesting because you get to a part of the game where like like almost every piece of content is slightly different enough for you to have different gear.
Okay. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. So that is pretty much the questions that I have for you today. I would like to open the floor to you just to kind of provide any and all insights to the community as far as things that they probably should know, but maybe don't know about. Anything that you could think of that you constantly get asked as a content creator, or just a member of the community, as far as the gear goes.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I think people don't really value is like some of these defensive stat lines. And two I really want to go through is MP up. Towards the end game, there's a lot of gimmicks where mana cost twice the amount. Having this line really prevents you from having like skill or issues. And for uh, like all element boosts, like having any like mythical item that has 2 element boosts to me is almost like an immediate like candidate for upgrade. And like really then that's for me it's like okay, just re-roll these like the other two lines if necessary. But if you get something that you could use, oh, even better, right? So over here, I end up this. So this is actually kind of cool. This is a result from the latest guild versus guild where we got this new item that allows us to reroll just one line. So this was actually before like plus level to like I think Salamander's Tail or something.
Hmm.
And instead I got the relic Orb of Wishes.
Yeah,
So now I no longer need a jewel to get that effect. It's just on my gear. So
that is pretty cool.
like it matters. And the thing here is like, when I get my next gems and I can re-roll this, like just really helps me bring my gear to the next level. And one of the last bits I really want to talk about was I think the game doesn't do a good job explaining some of the item synergies. So what I mean by that is I'm just going to go here and go into ultimate parts and go by set. And I think when people are upgrading ultimate gear, they get a little um, excited and they're just like, oh, this piece of hair is incredible and this is what I want to do. But really, you should kind of look at like, okay, what can I actually get from the hair, right? So if they're not really using, these skills, do you really want to go for hair, or do you want to go for like accessory? Do you want to go for wings? Like really, kind of assess like what you're trying to achieve and what you'd be happy about. It is so expensive that like I would really, really uh consider like, okay, what is my best bet of like bringing the most impact to my gear, and that's kind of like the biggest thing I want to say is don't get don't get too excited because and be very focused because the biggest thing is I would hate for someone to use a bunch of resources, then it's a one slot and the two parts that they rolled end up being worse than before, and it just overall feels terrible.
Okay. Yeah, dude, that's really crazy. And it's funny, like, cause like I said, right before we even, created this, video series, we were talking about gear. I didn't even realize like there was an ultimate aspect to it. So, I mean, there's so much, to the gear, out there to learn. I'm glad that we kind of started with this one. Um,
Yeah, yeah. So like one of the things I do want to bring up is like you notice I had the thesis synergy, and these have their own kind of synergy. So like if my character had if I can do bleed, the enemies take 15% more damage. And then if I can and then here like frost tomb, this is like another source of damage that usually is not available to you, right? And there's another one that does that is here. So this will just act as a spell that will like automatically cast on its own. So there's lots of cool things like that. This one is you get a area effect that reduces defense by a certain amount. So lots of cool things that you can go through. So some of the best builds I've seen are like where they can successfully mix two of these sets together, um, and that's just really really um, really incredible. I will say, if anybody's wondering what is the best weapon, what is the best ultimate gear, by far and away, it's Umbra. It's because you get your lucky crit strike chance anywhere from 15 to 25%, and it's 2x crit damage. By far and away, if you get this gun in a two slot, you've got the best weapon in the game, and congratulations.
all right, Comptus, if you could send that to me in the inbox or something like that, that would be absolutely amazing. I would greatly appreciate it so I can keep up with this guy. So again, fam, this is going to be episode 1 of our Ultimate Beginner's Guide series featuring the gear and everything and anything you need to know about it. I want to give a shout out once more to Epic Butter of Malicious for coming on board and doing this video with me. I could not have done this without you, man. Thank you so much for helping us out, man.
Oh, thank you for having me, and I hope we keep this going, and I hope this is really good for the community. That's the only reason why I'm here. It's such a strong and fun community over on Discord that like um I think it's really really great to just help people out, and the feeling that you get when you get to blast through like 20 more stages. Oh, that's
Right.
just why we play the game.
Right. Yeah. That burst of stage clear. Oh man, it's great, dude. I love it. I love it. All right, man.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah.
Anyways, guys, thanks again for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys all in the next one. Take care.